Good morning, everyone. My name is Peter Reset, and I'm the Deputy Director of the Legal Aid Society of Northeastern New York. I want to welcome everyone to the Legal Aid Society, and I'm especially excited to welcome and introduce Attorney General Eric Schneiderman. The Attorney General is a great champion for homeowners. His Homeowner Protection Program, which funds both legal aid and the Friends of the North Country to help homeowners in this area save their homes from foreclosure, and his Mortgage Assistance Program are essential services for struggling homeowners. These programs allow us, legal aid and Friends of the North Country, to provide free legal assistance and housing counseling to homeowners. The Attorney General understands how important home ownership is to the prosperity of the family and the community. Equity in the home is a valuable resource that permits a family to enter and remain in the middle class. Home equity can help finance higher education for children and grandchildren. Home equity can provide a secure retirement, and home equity can help provide a source of wealth to be passed to successive generations. Moreover, home ownership gives people a stake in their community and in their neighborhood. The foreclosure crisis of the past few years has been a real threat to the prosperity here in the North Country and all over the state. The Attorney General's programs allow us to help people get fair and accurate loan modification and refinancing decisions from lenders, and levels the playing field in court for those homeowners facing foreclosure. The Attorney General's Foreclosure Prevention Program helps ensure strong and prosperous families and communities. So it's with great pleasure that I introduce Attorney General Eric Schneiderman. Attorney General, welcome to Plattsburg.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Peter, and thanks to the Legal Aid Society of Northeastern New York for hosting us today. I'm joined by some folks, Glenn and others, I think, from our Plattsburg office, and also by Marty Mack, my Executive Deputy Attorney General, who supervises all of our regional offices, and by some of my colleagues in government and colleagues in the provision of services for the people of Plattsburg and the North Country. And I'm very, very proud of the work we are doing together. Among others, we're joined today by partners in what we call our Homeownership Protection Program, which is a system for funding legal services and housing counseling all over the state of New York to help homeowners at risk of foreclosure. We're joined by Friends of the North Country, Housing Assistance Program of Essex County, and one of our newest grantees, the Franklin County Community Housing Council. And it's always a pleasure to be here with my colleagues and former colleague in the Senate, Senator Betty Little, Assemblywoman Janet Dupree, and Plattsburgh Mayor Jim Calnan. They've all been great allies in our shared effort to revitalize the North Country. We're also very pleased to have with us today the Sheriff, David Favreau. It's the fact that everyone is here today is a reflection of how well the team in this part of the state works together to try and deliver for the people of the North Country. There are a lot of individuals who have suffered greatly in recent years because of the collapse of the housing market. We do also have counsel for one of those homeowners, a woman named Vera Stokes, and her counsel, Kelly Duquette, is here today to read a statement about Ms. Stokes' own experience. So to put this in a little bit of context, when I first was elected Attorney General, we were faced with the worst housing crisis in the history of the United States. In 2008, American families had lost $7.4 trillion in home equity. And when I took office in January 2011, the housing market in New York had collapsed, and the resources just weren't there to help the families who needed help the most. So it was and remains one of my top priorities as New York State Attorney General to try and help families hurt by the crash of the economy and to hold accountable those who caused it. That's something that I'm very committed to and will continue to be working on with my partners. And I have to say, some places you get a little bit of internal squabbling. Here, everyone works together really well to try and deliver for the people of Plattsburgh and the North Country. So it's important to recognize that in this part of the state in particular, almost half of all the foreclosures are what we call zombie properties. They are vacant or abandoned properties where the homeowners who may have the right to stay in their homes abandon the buildings, and the bank has not completed foreclosure. So it puts a burden on the local communities and on neighbors because no one's maintaining the property. that's why we've taken particular interest in focusing on the zombie property issue and how it affects this area of the state. It's important to the very basic American principle that you have the right to one set of rules for everyone and that everyone has a fair shot, that we provide money for legal services and housing counseling and work with our colleagues to get the word out to many families don't even know there is relief available, and that's something I'm going to talk about a little bit. So the first big step we took when we began to get money from the banks who contributed to the collapse of the economy was to invest money in legal services. Now, I think the only state, certainly the only state attorney general now, perhaps the only state attorney general in history who's ever chaired a joint federal-state working group targeted at securing settlements and funds from major financial institutions to try and get money back into the communities that were hurt. Thus far, my working group has recovered well over $60 billion, and well over $4 billion of that has come to the state of New York, either in terms of cash for the general fund or programs like the ones we're talking about today that help communities and help homeowners directly. We have a multi-pronged approach, and we keep learning from our experiences and expanding our efforts. And I look forward to doing that and continuing to do that, and the feedback we get from local officials and from our colleagues in the HOP network is essential to that. We are funding now legal services and housing counseling all over the state of New York because when I took office, there were about 350,000 families facing foreclosure, and we quickly learned that half of them never had a chance to talk to a lawyer at any stage of the process. As long as I'm Attorney General, no one is going to lose their home because they could not get to a lawyer. So the first major step we took was to set up the Homeowner Protection Program, which is a network of legal services and housing counseling providers. We fund almost 90 agencies all across the state to help New Yorkers stay in their homes. And in less than 3 years, because the program just started up, this network has served roughly 600 families in the North Country, thanks in part to the hard work of the people standing here with me today. That means hundreds of families in the North Country have gotten their loans written down and their rates reduced. They are staying in their homes. And there's nothing more important for a family or a community than allowing the family to stay in their home. The impact of the HOP program was tremendous, and we have funding for a couple more years of the program already secured. But many families in New York need a mortgage modification, which is a lot of modifications are available from the banks, and HOP program counselors and lawyers can help them find it. But a lot of folks don't qualify because they have a very small debt that prevents them from qualifying for modifications. Lien, an emergency happens, and in a bad economy, someone can suddenly lose their job, might become ill. It's easy to fall behind on a few payments or incur a little bit of medical debt. And a lot of those things can prevent you from being eligible for a mortgage modification. So we created and are administering through our HOP network what we call New York State's Mortgage Assistance Program, or MAP. And that is a program where we make non-interest-bearing loans available to families to close these small debts, pay off these small debts, clear up their balance sheets so that they can qualify for mortgages. We always target the loans at families who will be able to stay in their homes and get mortgage modifications if the loan is provided. And in less than a year, MAP has approved hundreds of loans across the state and totaling more than $6 million, including a loan to Ms. Stokes, whose counsel will speak with us later today. So I encourage families in the North Country to reach out to our program partners here with me. These loans can help families switch to mortgages with sustainable payments that will help them stay at home for years and help stabilize the communities that they're members of. And we have come to understand, as we've been doing this, that it's just not enough to set up the programs. We have to work harder to make sure people know what programs are available so they can and that they have access to. After our office launched HOP and MAP, we realized that a lot of people were not finding out about the good programs, but were finding out a lot about phony programs that were being advertised by scammers. In one particularly dramatic instance, I was in my car and I heard a radio ad come on saying, "The Attorney General has settled all cases with the banks. Your loan may be available for a write-down. Call the so-and-so law firm." So I did call the so-and-so law firm, and we sued them, and they're not doing that anymore. But we wanted to take steps to make sure that homeowners and their friends and families can have a way to find out if something's on the level or not. There are a lot of people out there promising to fix your mortgage who can't. And these rescue scams are particularly despicable because they take folks who are in desperate circumstances, give them false hope, often make all sorts of big promises they can't deliver on, and take people who are already victims of the crash of the housing market and make them victims again. So we've created a web-based app, which is called agscamhelp.com, an unprecedented use of technology to help keep New York families safe from foreclosure scams. You can access AG Scam Help on your desktop computer or your smartphone and check to see if a mortgage assistance company is legitimate. Just type the company's name into the search box and you can see if the company has been vetted by either my office or by the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development. The app can also connect families with local HOP partners, all free high-quality mortgage assistance providers. We know that thousands of homeowners have visited the AG Scam Help app where they're getting vital information about how to avoid rescue scams and how to get in touch with legitimate HOP lawyers and counselors. But we are trying to be more and more creative about getting the word out, and our colleagues here in government have been critically important allies in getting the word out to the community that help is available. And I'm pleased to announce today that we are expanding our outreach by putting AG Scam Help ads on Facebook targeting specific areas in the North Country that were hit hardest by the foreclosure crisis. So we will use the internet, we will use press conferences, we will use advertisements in local newspapers. We'll do anything we can do to get the word out because we don't want any family to lose their home either because they can't find a HOP counselor or lawyer when they are available, or because they fall victim to some sort of mortgage rescue scam. So we want to help you. We want to make sure you get a fair shot in your negotiations with the bank, and we want you to call us. So our hotline is 855-HOME-456. You can also get to it through our website. We're easy to find if you want to look. I'm proud that my office is leading what I think is the most aggressive and comprehensive effort of any Attorney General's office in the country to provide the compensation and to provide the assistance from the banks that contributed to the meltdown of the economy to people in communities that were hurt by the collapse of the economy. We are negotiating with other banks. We're going to continue to pursue this, and I look forward to being here again and to visiting with people who are in their homes and hopefully to visiting with communities where zombie properties are now occupied and rehabbed and the communities are restored and are whole again. So with that, it is my pleasure to introduce Michelle Fernier, the Director of Finance and Housing for the Friends of the North Country, one of our wonderful HOP partners.
Good morning. First and foremost, I would like to thank Attorney General Schneiderman and his staff for their caring commitment to providing excellent guardianship of the legal rights of the citizens of New York. Locally, numerous North Country residents have benefited from the establishment of the Attorney General's Homeowner Protection Program, the Mortgage Assistant Loan Program, and the AG Scam Help Program. The funds from HOP allow Friends of the North Country and other local housing agencies to retain, hire, and educate housing counselors. In turn, our housing counselors provide residents free advice and assistance on foreclosure avoidance. Local residents facing mortgage hardship steadily reach out to Friends of the North Country and other local counseling agencies for assistance. Without HOP funds, local counseling agencies would be very hard-pressed to address the alarming needs of our North Country residents. The funds from MAP allow our agency and other local counseling agencies to assist homeowners that are unable to get assistance from other foreclosure prevention programs, but have the means to successfully remain in their home with the help of a MAP loan. Friends of the North Country counselors too often work with residents who are in this very situation. Without MAP, the outcome is typically dismal. MAP is often the last lifeline that keeps family in their homes. Additionally, The creation of your website to assist homeowners to find free, qualified mortgage assistance service is invaluable for distressed homeowners. Friends of the North Country counselors have worked with residents who have been lured into scams and who gave their hard-earned money to companies who perform no services for them, money that could have been used to negotiate mortgage modifications. Although the North Country is rural in nature, North Country residents are not sheltered from scam companies, and any resident seeking assistance should log on to agscamhelp.com to find free qualified mortgage assistance. Again, I would like to thank Attorney General Schneiderman on behalf of Friends of the North Country, myself, our sister agencies, and most importantly from all of the North Country residents who have benefited from these programs. We are truly grateful. Thank you
very much.
Thank you.
And now it's my pleasure to bring up counsel for a local homeowner who has actually participated in these programs, Vera Stokes. Ms. Stokes is not well today, but her counsel, Kelly Duquette, is here to read a statement about that case. Kelly.
Good morning. My name is Kelly Duquette. I'm Vera Stokes' housing counselor. Due to her unforeseen illness this morning, she is unable to attend, but she has asked me to read her statement on her behalf. Good morning. My name is Vera Stokes. I live just outside Plattsburg in West Shazy. 20 years ago, I was raising my two boys on my own and working 2 jobs. I was trying to save up enough money to buy my own home. After a few years, I finally had enough money for a down payment. It felt great to finally be able to raise my kids in my own home. But everything changed in 2002 when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I had to stop working and the bills started to pile up. I never missed any payments on my mortgage until I got sick and couldn't work. I eventually went into foreclosure. I thought I would lose my home. But I was so lucky to find an organization like Friends of the North Country, and especially my counselor, Kelly, who had been like an angel to me. One day, Kelly told me about this new program supported by the Attorney General called MAP, a loan program to help homeowners like me. Kelly helped me apply to the loan program in January of 2015, and by June I had been approved for the loan. My mortgage company agreed to accept the payment, and my home was no longer in risk at being taken away from me. I do not know where I would be today if it were not for the people standing here beside me. I would like to thank Attorney General Schneiderman, to Kelly and everyone at Friends of the North Country, and the folks at the Legal Aid Society for helping me save my home.
Thank you very much. And now it's a pleasure to introduce a colleague and friend who I've served with for quite a few years in the state Senate, a vigorous advocate for her district and for the people of the North Country, Senator Betty Little.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate the Attorney General coming to the North Country. I'd like to think that of those many, many debates that when I went on and on about the needs of the North Country, I assume now he was listening because he's here today and understands that the North Country does need a lot of this assistance. You know, coming up, I was reading Strictly Business magazine, and they interviewed 40 under 40. And one of the questions was, what was the greatest risk you ever took? And one guy, I can't remember the name, said, and he was 23, said, the greatest risk I ever took was buying a house. And for many of us, we can relate to that. It's nerve-wracking when you're going to buy a house and put all your eggs and financial eggs into this basket of having a mortgage and a home and all the work that goes with it. But it's also an achievement in life that you're happy that you made. But as we heard from the story about Vera, things don't always go as planned, and there are times when you just can't make it, and your dream is a little altered and having some financial problems. You need help. And fortunately for her, through these 2 wonderful organizations, Friends of the North Country and the Legal Aid Society of the North Country, 2 great organizations. They have helped so many constituents of mine. We direct them to them all the time. But they were able to help her. But I will tell you that too often I read about somebody and something that happened, or they called the office, and I think, oh, they could have, they should have gotten this program, they should have called about that, but they didn't know about it. So for the Attorney General to be here today, to talk about the programs, to publicize the programs, to set up ways of people finding out the programs, is just wonderful and will be very helpful, and we will continue to promote these programs because they do help. And people are able to continue in their dream of having their own home, providing for their family. And, you know, who knows what would have happened if they had to foreclose and get all kinds of credit ratings and things that really would be detrimental to their future. So I commend him, and to Glenn, who's here in his office, called him often, and very, very responsive, as is the Attorney General. I mean, there's so many issues that we have that we need to call the Attorney General's office for, and always has responded, always providing some information and some help. And the scams that are out there are awful. So to be able to have this helpline and just to find out, is this program I'm looking at really legitimate, is going to be critical. And I commend you for doing that, because that's going to help a lot of people. And once they get you in a scam, I've talked to people that these scam people sell your information to other scams. And I was just hearing about inside, they actually sell information and names and teach people how to scam. So we need to do everything we can to help people not get involved in one of those. And this is a great program. Thank you very much for being here, and thanks for what you're doing to help homeowners throughout New York State, but particularly here in the North Country.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now another strong advocate for the community she represents, Assemblywoman Janet Dupree.
Thank you. Thank you. We're delighted to have the Attorney General here with us on a perfect North Country day. I first started working with the Legal Aid Society when I was county treasurer, and I would reach out often and got great results from, I always said as county treasurer, the only really, really bad job of the part of the job was having to take somebody's home for failure to pay their taxes. And the assistance that I received from the Legal Aid Council or Legal Aid Society through that time period was just phenomenal. And we saved many, many folks from ending up in a tax foreclosure sale. So I know the good work they do, and obviously working with the Friends of the North Country and the Housing Assistance Program of Essex County for many, many years. Delighted to have them as partners, delighted to be able to work with them. And I'm going to tell you, Mr. Attorney General, as I listen to you discuss the MAP program, I'm going to go back to my office and pick up a constituent file we got in within the last couple of weeks, and I think there's going to be another referral. Should have clicked on me right away, but that's the value of your being here today, having this press conference, making even those of us who know about the programs the reminder, and for those who don't know, the heads up that you and your office with Glenn Michaels and certainly your partners in this are here and available, and we can truly help people. That's what it's all about. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. And finally, I'd like to introduce the great mayor of Plattsburg, Jim Callan.
So you all wrote that down, right? The great mayor. Let's get that straight. There's three things I think that stand out for me today. One of them is that we talked about teamwork. This is really something that happens because a lot of different agencies get together and do things. State government, local government, not-for-profits. We're really here to protect, our citizens that need help. And I'm really pleased. Of course, the second thing that really makes that partnership outstanding is the Attorney General figured out a way to throw some money at it. And, money is really important when it comes to trying to provide services. The dedicated people who work for legal aid and for the Friends of the North Country are not in it for the money, but they do have to eat. So I think it's really important to be able to expand the opportunities here to really get people, boots on the ground to really talk to people who are in trouble. I've been involved prior to being mayor. I was director of the Workforce Investment Board. And one of the connections that we made early on and when we were putting together One WorkSource was a connection to legal aid, because the folks that we were trying to help get back to work were the ones who also needed certainly some help, and particularly help in home ownership. And so that's a great relationship from that job, and it's a great relationship in this job. The partnership goes on. We get in the city a certain amount of federal assistance for housing. We have grants and loans that we can administer, and we choose to administer them through contract with the Friends of the North Country, because we're really trying to establish this is the location for people who need help, and these are the people that can provide it. So it's a great partnership, and it's a great connection that really helps. I'm particularly pleased, as everyone has said, that the Attorney General is here announcing and really promoting these services are available, because the thing that you want to be sure of is that everybody understands that they can get the kind of assistance that's available. And the third thing that I'm really pleased to hear the Attorney General talk about is zombie properties. We don't have a lot of zombie properties, but the ones that we've had are just such blights on the community that his efforts working with legislation and obviously the legislators that are addressing this is really important to keeping our neighborhoods the kind of places that people want to live in. And we've chased down ownership of properties sometimes for 2 and 3 years and really haven't been successful in getting things done. The Attorney General's efforts there are greatly appreciated. So to me, you're a triple threat today, and I'm really happy that you're here, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Teamwork is the point today, and if you think about it, I'm co-chairing a federal working group that includes federal agencies like the U.S. Justice Department and the Securities Exchange Commission, working on seeing that some of the bad actors who contributed to the economic collapse in 2008 give back money to the states and to the communities and to the families that were hurt by the crash. And we do that, we can only do that with the collaboration of our local partners, local nonprofits. We look forward to continuing to work with you. We look forward to being more creative and more aggressive about making sure that every New Yorker knows that free legal assistance is available to you and that you don't have to fall for some scam that comes over the radio or that shows up on the internet. Please, for the people who need help, can get help. If you know anyone who is having trouble with foreclosure or staying in their home, get in touch with the HOP network. Do not let them get snookered in by a scam. The first rule of consumer protection is if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is false. So with that, I thank all of my colleagues, and I thank you for the good work you do. I'm looking forward to us continuing to help rebuild communities and to help families in need all across the North Country for years to come. Thank you.